Marico!
Maria! Maria! Maria!
¡No sale de allá!
Shake, 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 shake.
Fallecido.
Ay, Dios mío, fíjate de mí, Dios.
Marico! Marico!
Someone has been found alive.
Claro, claro, claro.
Hola!
The most grotesque lottery.
¡Asómate en el balcón! ¡Christopher!
¡William! ¡Está mi niña, William! ¡Y todavía falta más, William! ¡William!
Sunset over Caracas. It was around this time, early evening, that the earthquakes came.
¡Marico! ¡Mi mamá, huevón! ¡Mi mamá!
Buildings collapsed in the Venezuelan capital and beyond. A frantic search began for people trapped. There had been 2 earthquakes, 39 seconds apart. One measured a magnitude of 7.2, the other 7.5. It was the strongest quake to hit Venezuela in over a century.
2 fallecidos y vinimos.
2 dead, one searcher told us. They would find many more. We were the first international journalists to travel to the worst hit area, past the rescue traffic, to a place where the sun came up on a town's collapse. This is Katia Lamar. There was silence here, but in these scenes, the earthquakes resonated still. Katia Lamar is a seaside town in the state of La Guaira. Everybody, it seemed,
Escuchan.
had lost somebody.
Hola! ¿Me escuchas?
There was the smell of death and sense of despair.
¡María!
Niña Eugenia. Christopher.
They found the belongings of loved ones lost,
¡María!
and it ached.
Christopher.
¡María!
Necesitamos máquina.
Machinery was the shout. They were begging for help because they were digging by hand. We met Anthony Oropesa at the gates of his apartment block. His wife and 3 children had been inside when the earthquakes hit.
Isabela, María Fernanda, mi esposa María José y mi hijo José Alejandro.
They were in the rubble behind him, and he'd spent the morning trying to summon help with heavy lifting, without success.
We've been trying many ways to talk to them, but we've had no response. But we know they're alive. They're here, and they're alive.
The scale of the challenge was plain to see at the hospital too. Patients were decanted onto the street because there was a fear of contamination from bodies inside. There were so many, some were laid out on the pavement. Here we found Maitali Zamora. Her husband lay dead nearby, and she was waiting for relatives to help remove his remains.
Estoy en la calle, pues. Ya con la pérdida de mi esposo es otra.
I'm on the street now, and now without my husband, another problem. I don't wish this on anybody. From the bottom of my heart, I don't wish this on any country or state.
It was desperate in this town. This was the scene 2 days after the earthquakes, as looters descended on its centre, compounding the chaos. This is a scene being played out across this whole area. They have found somebody here dead. Local people who've spent the morning searching and shouting the names of their loved ones, well, they've gathered here to check who has been discovered. It is the most grotesque lottery.
¡William! ¡Mi niña, William! ¡Y todavía falta más, William! ¡William!
This was a search and rescue job for trained professionals, and they flew in from around the world. Some arrived complaining of obstruction and delays on entry caused by Venezuelan authorities. As time passed, so did the window of survival for anybody left alive under the rubble. And yet, hope didn't die.
Did you hear that someone was alive in there?
There may have been a possibility.
So everyone's moving now towards a site in the rubble where someone has been found alive. They're calling for an ambulance to be brought up here.
Up there. All right.
Sky's Martha Kelner joined a search in La Guaira.
Check, Alan.
By now, it was 3 days since the earthquakes. The talk was of looking for a miracle rescue. The miracle happened here. A boy aged 11 was pulled out alive.
Everyone must receive such a boost when they find a little boy alive in that wreckage, right?
Of course. We all need this help, and we're all doing right. Working together with love, because the life human being is the most important thing that we can have.
There were others rescued too. 3 days after the quakes, this was a 9-month-old child pulled out along with her mother. And this was a woman found holding her baby, just 18 days old, who had survived alongside her. They were success stories, but they were rare, as Venezuela's confirmed death toll rose by the day, and tens of thousands remained missing. In Caracas, this is Avenue Luis Roche. At the bottom of the street, they dig in the rubble of a collapsed apartment block. At the top, they wait for news.
The pain is unimaginable, but we know we're not the only ones.
They are relatives and residents who escaped and who tell the survivors' tale.
The first earthquake threw me back like Michael Jackson, and I was like, what the hell? I shouted, run, run, the building is falling down. When I turned, I took 2 steps, the ceiling fell down, and the rush of air blew me out.
Here we met Gabriel Corredor. He had his helmet on because he'd been helping to look for his brother Uriel.
My brother is here in the hall, and he is strong.
We'd only just finished speaking to Gabriel when suddenly there was news. His brother was a friend too of Rosana Hernandez, and he'd been with her when the earthquakes hit. She was told the news, and then so was Gabriel. His brother had been found the day after the disaster. His remains had already been taken to the morgue. Here, it is hard holding on to it. Venezuela is a poor country. The communist regime of Hugo Chavez, then Nicolas Maduro, presided over years of economic decline. It was made worse by US sanctions. There has been a lack of proper investment, proper infrastructure, and that's contributed to the devastation caused and to the country's ability to deal with it, to meet the scale of response required. What happened here has left devastation in its wake. And it's raised questions about buildings unsuitable and a regime responsible. And there's anger at the government response to the disaster. It's a headline story on the national news here, and it's a story told on the ground.
The only hope we have is God alone, and God is not helping us. Please help us. Send this message to the world. Bring us the machines. We have more than 10,000 people who want to live. We have to get them out.
Anger compounds the grief here too. This is a makeshift morgue where the bereaved queue to identify and retrieve the remains of loved ones. But many can't afford to bury their dead. The undertaker's vehicles are queued up for collection, but only with payment of more than £300. It's a sum double the average monthly salary here.
How is it possible that we have nothing and they are charging us what they are to bury our loved ones and we don't have the government's support? We're waiting for the family to pay for the undertaker to come. We don't have that kind of money. If we did, we would have paid already.
Wherever you go in Venezuela, you see the signs and the structure of a repressive regime. This country for so long has been in the grip of dictatorship, with a dark record of human rights abuse, a crackdown on political dissent, government critics thrown in jail, forced into exile, tortured, disappeared. A recent study for the United Nations found that despite the fact that Nicolas Maduro has been captured and taken to America, there remains in place the apparatus of a repressive regime, and it remains operational. You look around and you see police and military personnel, armed and conspicuous.
No, claro.
There are regular checkpoints and military traffic. It doesn't look or feel like freedom. The spectre of Maduro still looms large. His officials are still in charge, and it impacts earthquake relief. Aid organizations complain of restricted access. Locals say there's been an inadequate response. Delcy Rodriguez is Maduro's former deputy, now acting president. She was jeered when she surveyed rescue efforts in Caracas. We spoke to the local mayor by her side. Is it the fault of the government for poor building, poor infrastructure, poor investment?
No, because the buildings fall is very old, more than 15 years. And now we have new legal to construir los edificios. O sea, tenemos una nueva legislación que obliga a los edificios sean antisísmicos.
We have new legislation now. Now we have new legislation, but these two buildings were too old for that legislation.
This place, La Guaira, is tied up in the recent politics of Venezuela. The US military used this as a route in January when they flew to capture Nicolas Maduro, the former leader. He's now in a New York cell awaiting trial. Donald Trump has a control over the administration in his place. He has access to the country's oil. Part of the political story here is what does Venezuela get from the United States in this, its time of desperate need? The USS Fort Lauderdale is anchored at Caracas, supporting American search and rescue personnel sent here with social media profile. The American government has committed several $100 million through aid agencies and the United Nations.
USA.
There's a sanctions exemption for transactions related to the relief effort.
El cuerpo y la sangre de nuestro Señor Jesucristo nos guarde hasta la vida eterna.
In a country over 90% Catholic, we attended Sunday Mass in downtown Caracas, held outside because of damage to the church. Afterwards, we talked Trump and the politics of disaster. Is this a test of Donald Trump?
People in Venezuela in general expect more from Trump than from Rodriguez, you know? And then this situation right now, people can say, oh, this is fault from Trump too, you know? Because he is doing nothing about it. Okay, they send troops, they say engineers, but they didn't came the same Wednesday. And in that situation, 1 minute, you know, 1 hour is important for your life.
Pero la verdad que no hemos oído respuesta de nada.
We've not had any response at all. Nothing. Everything has come from foreigners. That's all we have. That's all that gives us comfort.
Porque también tenemos un problema en nuestro país, que esto no sirve.
We have a problem in our country. This system does not work. Politically, it doesn't work. Everything's been taken. Everything is repression. Everything is the persecution of people. And this regime has to change.
This is a country with long-term challenges, politically, economically, and they feed into its immediate crisis. It is felt acutely here, not least by the thousands displaced and dispossessed. In Caracas, they are housed in shelters, in sports centres and in city parks. The trauma here is generational.
Everything was shaking like this, very hard, and all of our cooking pots fell down. We ran up and everyone went outside. About the building, I told them that it fell down because it was too old, but they're gonna make a new one. I said, we'll sleep under the stars tonight. We are on an adventure. So for them, this is the best day of their lives.
They have known catastrophe here before. In the state of La Guaira, there were mudslides in 1999 that killed 10% of its population. Now they are organizing coffins for the victims of the earthquakes. In a place already defined by disaster, they are living it once more. James Matthews, Sky News, in La Guaira, Venezuela.